Now let's look at another example very quickly before we go on to vector tools. I'm going to hit my, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. In fact, what I'll do is I will, before I close it out, I'm going to hit my Command Shift S to save as, and I think what I'll do is I'll save this back into the vector, and I will call this one Tutorial 001. And of course, I will upload it and place this inside of that vector folder that you guys have on the Google Drive. So in fact, just so that nobody's panicking and everybody can see that I'm actually going to do it, I'm going to go back over here to, let's see, is this it here? Vector exercises. And we're going to go find a tutorial #1 file. There it is. And right before your wonderful eyes, I'm going to drop it inside there. Okay, there it is. Okay, now let's go to work. Let's go back into Photoshop. And let's get back into Bridge. So I will close this out. Command Shift O takes me back into Bridge. Let's go ahead and maximize Bridge here so we can focus just on this. And let's grab this little Fred Flintstone. I shot this at the Fred Flintstone amusement park, which is out at the Grand Canyon. So we're going to alter his shirt into a different color. Okay, so the reds in this shirt, we're going to target those only. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up in Photoshop. So hit the Enter key on the keyboard, and this automatically opens up in the Camera Raw. We'll talk about Camera Raw in a little bit, but let's go ahead and just open Image for now. And hit the F key to go to full frame mode once again, and then use my spacebar, Option and Alt together, hold them down together. Spacebar first, Option and Alt after. This also seems to work, spacebar and Control, or Command and Control. It seems to work for that as well in Photoshop. Okay, so the whole idea here is that we want Fred's his coat to turn red. So our design or director says, you know what, we need to change this to green, just so that for the purposes, for some brochure purposes, they're going to alter it to something different. I'm going to duplicate my layer, Command and Control J. The next thing I'm going to do is I will place the shirt on its own layer. Now, there's a couple of ways I can go about this. I can select the color by itself, or I can actually outline the entire shirt. I think I'm going to select the color by itself. We're going to do something different this time. We go to our Select menu, and we're going to go target our color range. So what Photoshop is going to do is it's going to target a particular color or a range of that color within your photograph here. If I target the red, you can see anything that's white here are the areas that are selected. So the fuzziness slider allows you to just select more of the red that I've targeted. Okay, it's just expanding the selection. As we can see here, if we target OK, there it is. It's done. Now what I can do is I can place that red content onto its own layer. Command or Control J once again. Okay, right click. We're going to go over ahead and give it a Smart Object, and we again can also apply hue and saturation. So Command or Control U, and notice I'm going to click OK for the time being, but notice I get, because it's a smart object, I get a non-destructive workflow where I can edit this at any time, take it away or bring it back. So double click on the hue and saturation, and I'm going to just change the saturation of that color. Maybe, let's go the other way, get more of a stronger greenish. That's about as greenish we're going to get it. And then we can go to our saturation and pop up the saturation on that green if we want to. Okay, so all because we're utilizing layers, right? So all the design features that we have here is being placed on its own layer in a non-destructive workflow manner. All right, so I'm going to target it and click OK. Looks pretty good. It's all done. I can do the same thing for the welcome sign here. All right, I can make a new. We'll go back to the original layer. And let's get in close to the original line, the welcome sign here. go grab. Now, we could use the selection tool, but why not just go back to our select menu? Why? Because we're going to modify a selection. And color range. Target the welcome. There. See how strong that is? Looks pretty darn good by itself. Click OK. Everything's selected. I think I can do a little better job than what I've just done. So I'm going to hit Command or Control D to deselect. Go back to my select. Go to color range. Target this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to what I've selected. Currently, what I've done is I've selected this range of red right in here. But there's more ranges of red. We got some dark reds, some light reds, all, associated within these speckles and texture detail. So we're going to hit the plus eyedropper here, and then I'm going to click and hold and drag it across all these various ranges of red, bright reds, dark reds. Now I don't want to go too far. If I go too far, I can always go back to the original eyedropper, click it again. The welcome is done there. Go to the plus sign and just stay within this range right about there. There we go. Now go to our fuzziness slider and adjust this accordingly there. That looks pretty good. So target OK. I think it did a little better job than it did before. Let's actually see exactly how well it worked. Command or Control J. Place in its own layer. Right click. We're going to make that a smart object. Give it once again a hue saturation. Okay, and I can just change the whole thing to whatever I want. See, now you can see in here where some of that red was not targeted correctly. Okay, so let's go ahead and click OK. And let's see if I have, well, because it's on its own layer, I'm going to have to go back and redo it again. So maybe in this case, I'll just simply go with this tool here. Now that may work in some, that might work. It may not work accurately, but I'm going to show you a more accurate way to handle this. Just a very quick way. Let's go to select menu. Let's go to color range. Let's select the color range once again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to hit the Q key on the keyboard. That's the same thing as hitting the quick mask tool. Now it's all red, and this is equivalent to the old graphic design technique of using a litho mask in the graphic design world, where anything that's in red is going to be masked out. Anything that's clear is what's going to show through. So a litho mask is film, where the area that's showing through will be clear on the film, and the area that's going to be blocked out will be black on the film. So if I paint with black, I'm adding to the mask. If you see here, let's actually go to my paintbrush for this. Let's oops, that's going to go back. Let's there we go. Let's resize my brush down smaller. And if I paint with black, we're adding to the selection, right? Or we're taking away from the mask. We're adding to the mask, but taking away from the selection. So if I hit the Q key again, you see what I've done? I've taken away from inside the selection. I'm gonna go hit the Q key again. If I hit the X key and paint with white, I'm taking away, I'm editing out the mask, which is going to give me a cleaner selection. Okay, so a quick way to handle this is just go to a brush, quickly brush this away using the quick mask tool. And I'm not going to do the whole thing just to save time, but you can see I'm using a nice big brush just to quickly edit in those areas. Now, if for some reason I screw up as I just did here and went outside it a little bit, all right, I can resize my brush smaller, hit the X key, which switches my foreground and background color here. Paint with black and add the black in there. So hit the X key to paint with white. Stay in close. Clean all this up. I think you guys are getting the point. There we are. Take that away. And we can further clean all of this up accurately, as accurately as we want. So bring down the brush size, hit the X key, the paint with black, and we're adding to the mask to accurately keep the background away. So if I hit the Q key, there it is, right? So we're going to get a much a fuller form of the text. We're going to get a better selection of our text here. So just keep that in mind. That's a workflow that you can utilize. So when working with photographic images, this becomes invaluable because you often don't. Sometimes you can't control how those localized imagery is going to be selected, because every photographic image is going to be different. So you need to have some skill sets in understanding how to use selections and how to modify a selection. So once again, if I come into here, say I need to modify this selection, hit the Q key, now I'm utilizing my paintbrush to paint in exactly where I want things to be masked and where I don't want them to be masked. If it's a large area that I don't want to be masked, make your brush bigger. You don't waste time and just mask it out very quickly. Okay, so this is kind of very important. All right. So if we go back, hit the Q key, okay, and now you can see we have a much more complete selection of your text here, where before it was a little bit of a problem. Now keep in mind these are JPEG images, so they're not the super high quality, so you're going to have a little bit of an edge problem, whereas if you had a raw file from a photograph that a client has given you or that you've taken for a client, you're going to be able to select this a lot more cleanly than it was selected here. Okay. All right, so once everything is selected, we simply hit our Command or Control J, as I showed you before, and if we kind of turn everything off, you're getting a little better selection here. Okay, so this, you can alter the colors, you can add effects around the edges, whatever you like. Okay. All right, so let's go take a look at utilizing vector tools. I think that's going to be really important, because as you learn how to use vector tools well in Photoshop, you have already learned how to use it in Illustrator as well as in InDesign. So let's explore a more practical application of our selections utilizing our vector tools. I'm going to target the Lions 2, and I'm going to hit the space bar to bring it to full screen so you can see the image that we're going to utilize is inside your Google Drive folder. And here's what the client wants. They want to do a business card, but they want the face of the lion, and they love the background texture, but the texture actually competes with the face of the lion. So they would like us to ghost out the background, but don't ghost out the water. Leave the water consistent visually as we can see it here. Okay. All right. So we need to break everything up into their own layers. I'm going to go ahead and hit the space bar again and go back and hit the Enter key to go back into Photoshop. So here's our image, and that's I was playing around with something earlier. I'm going to go ahead and delete that layer. So here it is, a background, standard background with the lion. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this background with a Command J. I'm going to use this one for our ghosting effect, okay? So I will give this, right click on it, give it a smart object, create or alter it to a smart object. Now we're going to give it a command where we're going to, well, I can basically do this in several different ways. One is that I can reduce its opacity against a white background. In other words, if I come right down here at the bottom, I'm targeting my background layer because the next step I'm going to apply I want this next adjustment layer to go on top of this layer. So whenever we add new layers, by default, it goes on top of the layers. So if I come right down to the adjustment layers, the black and white half circle, dead center of your layers panel, I'm going to target it. And let's go to solid color. And what's nice about solid color is it brings up any color that you want to alter your image into. Let me hit the cancel key for real quick, and let's go turn this off visually at the top. Now let's go back and reapply it again. Oops, didn't mean to touch that there. Let's go and don't show me that again and just delete it. I want to delete them both. Excellent. Go back to our adjustment layer, solid fill. There it is. So I can fill it with any color that I want. I want to make it white in this particular case. So it's a non-destructive adjustment layer. Again, the whole theme is working in a non-destructive workflow. Target the top layer, turn the eyeball back on, and I can go to my opacity settings and bring this down to get that nice ghosted white effect that we're looking for. Now the goal here is to bring back the head accurately along with the water. So what we'll do is we will duplicate the original layer, place it on the top. Okay, and then I'm going to I will again go ahead and make this a smart object. It's a good workflow, good habit to get into. So right click, smart object, convert to smart object. Now what I want to do next is to apply what's called a vector mask. Okay, so I want to create a vector shape, and based on that shape, I'm going to create a mask from it. So let's go ahead and get started. So come over here on the tools panel, and you'll see a picture of a tool, of a pen tool right there. Or I'm gonna hit the P key on my keyboard. That'll jump to the pen tool. Now I'm going to zoom in closer. To help me work better, I'm going to rotate my canvas. Hold down the R key while holding down the R key. In other words, don't let it go. Click and drag it, and it'll rotate my image. I find I can work better when my hand is moving diagonally across my chest from right to the lower side of my body because I'm right-handed. So getting in closer. The whole idea is I'm looking at curved shapes. Click and release. There's a curved shape starting here, ending right about there. Click and drag, and that will, now look what I'm doing. I'm dragging so that the handlebars are flowing with the shape. We have a slight little dip here. I'm going to go ahead and get in closer. We have a slight little dip here. So click and hold and drag, and the back end will fall into place. I have another curve that starts here, ends right about there. Click and hold and drag. See, I'm tracing the shape in front of me, and the back end will fall right in place. Well, I can give it more slack for the back end, or pull it in to take up slack to accurately portray it. Space bar, hold it down, drag to the side. We have a nice subtle curve right here. Click and hold and drag it. See? It outlined all this. So click and drag, click and drag. So I'm looking at the curves. So I'm putting a point on one side of the curve. Pay attention to where it subsides. Place the point on the other side. I accidentally clicked a couple of times there. And drag it, and the back end falls into place. So that's what you should be paying attention to, are the curves. Space bar, bring it up a little bit. Now the point starts here, and the little curve that ends right about there. Another almost a straight line from this point to this point. Click and release is all we need to do. It adds a straight line in between 2 points. Have a nice curve here, and a curve coming around here. So it starts there, ends right about there. Click and hold and drag it. And I only want to, bring the handle as far as is needed to get the curve behind it to be accurate. Space bar. Now, Hold down the R key again, rotate it a little bit, space bar, bring it on over. See, I'm making life easy on myself here. I don't want a world to hurt. And I'm tightening it up in there by pulling this handlebar a little further out. Oops. Okay, so I need to rotate again. R. So I'm constantly, it's like I'm moving a sheet of paper around as I'm drawing and painting on it, you know? So I got the curve, starts here, ends right about there. I'm tracing this shape in front of me. So it starts there, ends right about over here somewhere. Click and hold and drag it and get at the plot. Now, you notice where the handlebar is going here? If I put a point here, see where the line basically loops in a direction we don't want it to go? So Command Z. So what we do is we hold down the Alt or Option key. That gives you the change direction tool, which gets rid of that handlebar and allow you to work fresh. So I'm looking at the angles. Okay, space bar, get my hand, bring it around. You can see it's a little bit of a loop in here. If I hold down the control key, I get the white arrow tool. It allows me to go back and manipulate these handlebars. Once I'm done, I go back forward again. And the whole idea is that you're clicking forward. Space bar. I'm thinking I'm holding down the space bar and I'm holding down another command. Rotate. All right, holding down the R key. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish this up very quickly. Now I have a good idea as to what I'm doing. I'll let you watch me at this point. So click and drag it to here. Remember, I'm not seeing the head of a line. I'm seeing curves. That's all I care about is curves. Command or Control key gives me the ability to get the arrow, the handlebars there. Bring it around. Okay. We're almost there. So, R key command. Let's pull this out so we can see where we are. Oops, now look what I did. I went down too far, didn't I? That's fine. Command Z. Command Z. There we go. Make sure the pen tool is selected. Okay. There we go. Now we're starting to define the lips. There we go. Almost done. See? Almost done. Pull this on inside. And get in that corner. There we go. If I pull this up, I want to close this curve now. So the curve is currently an open curve. So I'm going off the page, outside. Now watch as I get close in here. For any of you who are not familiar with curves, click it, it closes it. Okay? Now, this is where the fun begins. Currently, let's go ahead and zoom out. I'm hitting Command or Control 0. And what we see is our path here. Now, we can go in here and edit our path. Right below our pen tool, we have a black arrow tool. This will target the entire path and drag the whole thing around, which that is not what we want to accomplish. So what I prefer to do is click and hold on that black arrow, and we see a white arrow, which is called a direct selection tool. Target it. That way we can get in close and target individual paths. So by clicking and dragging around it, and we can play around with individual paths, we can add more slack or take up the slack or adjust the direction of the shape to outline our head of our lion here. So again, I want to do a little better job here, outline it a lot better in this area. And space bar, move it around. It's not bad. The lip is probably a little bit off here. Let's go ahead and get in a little bit closer. And let's target this one here. There we are. And let's target this one here. Bring it out. That's a lot better. All right. So as we... There we are. I'm going to go grab this one here. Pull it out. Push this one in place. I think I'm going to just keep it on the inside there. That looks good. So I'm getting close to verify the accuracy of my selection. Some of these are a little bit harder, so I can actually click and drag it to adjust the slack. There we are. Just becoming a little bit more accurate. All right, looks good. All right, now there's my shape. If I go over to my path panel, now this is where the path panel will become handy. Click on it, you get an actual layer of what you've just created. Come right down to the blank area. I'm going to right click once again and go to large so it's easier for you guys to see. Okay. There is the shape of my path. Now I'm going to save it by double clicking on the right hand side. It's called path 1. We can actually name it whatever we want. We'll call it lion head. Spell it right and hit enter. Now what I can do is I can alter that into a vector mask. So I could alter this into a selection and then apply a layer mask, but I'm going to apply a vector mask this time. So if I come over to layer, vector mask, use the current path. Target it, and look what happens. Now, the beauty of this is that you get this beautiful clean edge, which is absolutely ideal for graphic design. Right? Nice clean edges in there. And my background went white. So what's happened is everything in gray is being eliminated visually, and everything in white is what's being shown through. All right. Now the goal here also was to maintain the water. Right? You want the water to have the same tonality as the head of a lion. All right. So let's accomplish it this way. Go back and duplicate the original layer. Command J. Let's drag this original layer to the very, very top. My layer positioning, which means it's going to visually block everything off. And what we are interested in is getting back the water. So I'm going to give it a mask. Click on the third icon from the left, right below your layers panel. And you're going to get a white mask by default, which means you can see all the visual aspects of the head of the lion or the entire image of the lion. If we alter this to black using Command or Control I for inverse, or image menu, adjustment, Command or Control I, there it is. It's a shortcut for inverse. Now we don't see anything. So what we're going to do is this. Hold down the R key for rotating again. Rotate it. It's easier for me to paint diagonally once again. Hit the B for the brush. Okay. Resize my brush so it's a nice soft edge. I'm using a walking brush. Now this is where you get to see just how valuable the walking brush is for your graphic design purposes. And in this particular case, we want to maintain the water. So I'm going to gently, now with my brush, the fourth panel from the left on the options bar up here, all of your tools have options, of course. The fourth one from the left, we have the option to go to my transfer and tell it to utilize pen pressure, okay? Now, if you're using a mouse instead of a stylus, where the stylus utilizing pen pressure allows you to apply pressure to your, as you're painting. If you're not, you have to go up here to the opacity and adjust it accordingly, which I might do it anyway, just so I have a little more control. So if I start to paint with white on the black mask, black conceals, white reveals, right? So hit the X key on my keyboard so that the foreground color, as we can see here, is white. And as I start to paint, I can bring back the water. Okay, so this will be very handy for you, and we can adjust the size of our brush if we want to reveal some of the little speckles off to the side there. Make the brush a little bigger for some areas, but keeping it a nice soft edge. Space bar, move it around a little bit. Okay. And just gently tap and drag. Gently tap and drag. Okay. Hold the R key down, and on the options bar up here, which is where we're going to find our preferences for all of our tools, we have the reset view. So click that. That'll reset the view. Command or Control 0 pops everything into full frame, and this is what we have. Okay. So that's kind of the niceties of utilizing. We utilize actually two different types of masks. One is the vector mask here. The other one is the layer mask, where we can use the layer mask to show or hide the visual aspects of the layer it's associated with. Now, if I want to add a little more contrast to this, the whole thing, then it's going to be this layer is what I'm interested in. And because this layer is a smart object, I can apply my curves to this. So, image menu, adjustment, go to curves, and curves allow you to put a dot in the middle, increase the values, or decrease the values. Or we can have contrast, take the darker values, as you can see here on the bar, okay, the blacks, the different shades of 256 possible shades of gray until it becomes absolute white. You go down, you can make those darker values, richer. You go up here, and we're adding more contrast. So I may not want to have as much of the darker values in there, just about that, just enough to give it a little contrast. And target OK. All right. So this could be the beginning level of a ghosted background with a head emblem, maybe some text on the top or text on the bottom. But it's a nice little exercise in getting used to utilizing vector shapes and tools, as well as layer masks in combination with your stylus and or your mouse. So let's talk about dealing with photographic imagery where maybe the person is going to have hair, but you're going to include it on the front of your magazine cover, but yet you want to drop out that background so that the hair stands out, or the hair is properly selected along with the person. Okay, let's go and close this out. Command W. And let's go ahead and let's go back to Bridge. And I have one in here. I have another actually, but there it is. People number 1. And I'm going to open that one up. And this person, we're going to include on the front of the magazine, but you know what? We need to edit this photograph before we can do so. And we need to remove the person with the hair strands from the white background. Now this is going to be a fun one for you. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the layer. Command or Control J. Now, we have some beautiful tools in Photoshop, but first, the toolbar we had been using previously were limited on the number of tools. If you find that your toolbar has a limited tools compared to what you get when you open up Photoshop from default, right down here you see 3 little circles. If you click and hold on the circle, target Edit Toolbar. Simply come over here and target Restore Defaults and target Done. And now you're going to see all the tools that I have. Now, in this tool, I'm going to go grab the Quick Selection tool. Now, it works like a brush. Now, we've used it a little bit before. And I can resize it. The bigger the brush is, the more sensitive it'll be. The smaller the brush is, the less sensitive it'll be. But if you look on your options bar, when you select any of these tools, you have something called Select Subject or Select a Mask. What we're going to do is we're going to tell Photoshop to select this subject. So do the work for me. Hit the Select Subject button. And look what it's done. It selected the hair with the person's body. It's not perfect because we haven't gotten inside yet. So the next thing we need to do is go to Select and Mask. Target Select a Mask. And we're getting some nice another little interface here where we're going to target the hair and exclude the background. Now, first of all, we have our tool palette right up here to the top left. I'm going to pull it out. It's a sticky menu and drop it over here. Currently, we're in the selection mode. But let's stay focused. Over here on the properties panel, we have visual options. How do we want to view this image? If we click the drop down menu next to the image, we have options like onion skin. Now, all these are our viewing options. If I click on marching ants, our marching ants come back. If I click on overlay, you get to see the red overlay or the quick mask overlay on black or on white. Okay, so what I'll do is let's just show you this again. Let me click cancel here. Okay, we see our subject on our background. It's been selected by hitting select subject. Now we're gonna go to select the mask. Everything comes back again. Now I'm going to choose on black. There. Now now you notice this is not really on black because of the opacity up here at the very top. If I bring the opacity back, it goes away. If I bring it all the way to the right, the black comes back. It allows you a choice to see how is it going to be easier for you to see it or assess depending on the color of the hair, the tone of the hair. So Adobe is giving you all types of choices here or controls here to control that background to better assess what's going on with the hair. So we're going to go with a solid black. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to edge detection. And we need to tell it what to keep and what to go away. If I target show edge here, nothing happens because I haven't created an edge. I can target show original or high quality preview. These are just viewing options. Just as under the view we chose to choose black. It doesn't do anything to your image. It's just viewing options. Here's where we start to do something to your image. We need to choose Smart Radius. Target it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the slider and move it over to the right a little bit. And you can see the program is trying to detect the edges of the hair. So if I pull it over more, like 3/4 of the way through, you can see the program automatically is trying to detect the edges of the hair. What we're going to do is we're going to help it do a better job. Matter of fact, let's go to show edge again. Look, we've just created an edge. Because the program knows to keep the person and delete the outsides around the borders of the edge. It doesn't know how much of it not to keep or to keep. That edge is what's telling the program exactly what to discard and what to maintain. So I'm going to turn off the edges, and what we're going to do is we're going to refine those edges. And that's what this brush is going to do. We're going to go to the next brush down. That's going to be your refine brush tools. If I hover over it, that's refine edge tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to make the brush bigger. Use a soft edge brush. And then I'm going to paint in here and watch what happens. As I paint, it's going to do a much, much better job. See? If I come over here and paint on this side, the brush is half on, half off. And if I really wanted to do a better job, I'm going to bring the brush size down and do it again, paint again, and see how much better the program can detect the hair. If I go back to the radius option, maybe I'll slide the radius over a little bit and see if it'll do a little better job. Hard to tell. So at this point, this is as far as we want to go. We got options like smoothing for smoothing out the mask. Right? I always take it to an extreme to see what it does. I can go to feather to feather the edges of the mask. You see what's happening. Nice little fine-tuning features. I can increase the contrast of the mask to further, isolate the hairs. So maybe I'll add a little more contrast and maybe a slight feather to it. Maybe. Let's add a slight little feather to it. Now shift the edge. Go to the right, brings back, go to the left, it kind of pulls away. So you really have to work with this, play with this one. Let's say shift. I'm going to play with it here. That looks a little better. That's not too bad. Contrast. I'm going to pull the contrast over a little bit. That's pretty close. Now we need to tell it how to save this out. Output settings. Output to a selection? No. A new layer? Possibly. How about a new layer and a layer mask associated with that layer? Click that. I'm going to also tell it to remember my settings. So it will do most of the work for me before I actually start working on it manually. If I target OK, there it is. See the new layer with the layer mask. Turn off all the layers underneath it. Look, clean. So by getting closer, not too bad. Some of these areas are missing right in there, but we can edit the mask for that. So if I want to bring back the hair, I paint on the mask with white. And I'm in the wrong tool. I want to be in the brush tool. There we are. So I'm going to give it 100% opacity, and we paint with white. See, it's bringing the hair back. That's the control that you have here. Spacebar. So if you ever get, and you're going to get a project later on where I'm going to have you do a portrait, but I'm going to have you replicate a magazine cover, a fashion magazine cover, but it has to involve a portrait. So this tool is really going to help you. So pretty fun, huh? There's a fairly new feature inside of Photoshop, and that's your frame tool. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer here, Command or Control J. Okay, and we're going to go over to the frame tool right here. I'm going to click on it, And once it's targeted, I can draw out my frame within the photograph here and watch what happens. I'm going to turn off the bottom one there. And what it's done is it's framed off the imagery inside the frame. Everything else is going to go transparent outside. So basically what it's doing is it's creating a type of a vector mask. Now we can edit the frame and the fruit individually. So if I go over to the frame and double click on the frame, as you can see, it's highlighted while the fruit is no longer highlighted on the layer. And I can take my mouse and just resize the frame independently. If I want to reframe them both, I'm going to hold the Shift key and select them both. And if I use my Command or Control T, then they both will be resized as one piece. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead. I'm going to bring them down, bring it a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to double click on the fruit. And now we can resize the fruit, or actually reposition the fruit within the frame. Command T, I can resize the fruit within the frame. So this might be a nice little feature you might want to utilize for some of your assignments when we start doing some of the layout aspects of our work.